Okay, we are recording. This will be my second message. No, it'll be my first message, part two. And the name of the message is The Cost and Rewards of a Relationship with Jesus Christ. I'll give you a little recap on what I talked about on my last message in case you didn't tune in. I will say, if you did tune in, I apologize. It was a little bit long for sure. Also, um, there was a lot of and a lot of blank spots where I was just kind of thinking and whatever. I mean, I guess this is kind of the way I talk. Well, it's mainly the way I talk when I'm trying to read off of notes, but the notes are what's going to keep me going in the right path because I get scatterbrained and I start going down rabbit holes. And so we're trying to stay on point and talk about what is necessary. So forgive me if I do kind of, I don't know, pause or whatever, but it just is the way it is. So here we go. So last week, recap last week, what I talked about was how, in my opinion, uh, relationship with Jesus Christ is the most important decision you could ever make. And so I'll just go over that real quick. The reason why is because it's going to change the way you view life, change the way you view the world, change the way you view people, change the way you view yourself, your children, relationships in general, your ethics, your goals, and most of all, your future. We also talked about worldly outlooks on what life is really about. And so riches, respect, revenge, all of those things, those you find are not important or they're not the most important thing. And but a lot of times, when you live in a dark life, those are the things that you are told are most important. And so when I say revenge, really what I'm like cooking it down to is resentment and hatred. And resentment and hatred can leave you sick. And we don't want to be sick. We want to be healthy. We want to be good. We want to be living a good life. And so Jesus can give you that. Uh, yeah. Also, I guess that's it. That'll be a good recap. So, all right. So now moving on, let's talk about the way. So another thing that Jesus can give you, something else that is a cost and also a reward, or seems like a cost. And so I'll say this: the title of the message is, the cost and rewards of a relationship with Jesus Christ. But really, I mean, there is some costs, but in the end, you look back and you're like, that really wasn't a cost anyways. It just seemed like a cost at the time. So, uh, one thing that you can get, or another thing that you can get from a relationship with Jesus Christ, is the way that you are living life today won't seem as appealing anymore. Now, that right there can seem kind of weird. That can seem like a cost. It's like, man, I like my life, or I like some of the things that I do, and I don't want those to not be appealing anymore. But I think from from living that darker life, I would say that in the beginning, it was super fun. Like I'd go out, uh, run around with my friends and whatnot, and a lot of hustling, a lot of just a lot of activity. And so, number one, it killed the boredom. Number two, um, you know, we got we did things and it was fun. Uh, we were getting loaded and doing all of that, in the beginning it was fun, but then after a while, when the addiction really started to take hold, it was no longer fun, and I wished above all that I would be able to get out of that. Now, when that's the type of life that you're living, um, if a relationship with Jesus Christ will make it so that the life that I'm living today won't seem as appealing. Now all of a sudden, that's got some appeal to it, right? And so that's a huge benefit. It might not seem like a benefit if you're still out there having fun in the situation and whatnot. But if if you're absolutely miserable and you wish above anything that you could get out of that lifestyle, but no matter how many times you try, addiction has got the best of you and you can't seem to be able to make better choices. And you always seem to end up belly up deep in the addiction, then losing that appeal seems like a really good thing at that point. But even when it comes to just a lot of things, even, I know this might even sound weird, but the music that I used to listen to, a lot of it just don't have the same appeal anymore. And a lot of it just takes me back to a dark place that I was at. And and I appreciate the fact that my taste in music has changed because music can be really influential. Is that the word? Yeah, I think that's the word. All right. Another thing, you will start to care about people that you would most likely never have accepted in the social circle that you once surrounded yourself with. And you will truly care for them and want the best for them. So I would say that that is definitely a thing, but I would also say that the people that you would have once had in your social circle, if you all of a sudden you change your social circle and you start, because let's say that your social circle right now is at the local trap house, or, you know, I mean, let's just use that example. So it's at the local trap house, and most of the people that are around you are thieves or, you know, drug addicts or, you know, different lifestyles, darker lifestyles. Those are most of the people around you. And then you come out of that, you start to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, and he brings you out of that. He pulls you out of that and puts you in a better place. Now, all of a sudden, when somebody that's from that same lifestyle comes around, not only, you're not going to shun away from them. Instead, you're going to want to give them the same thing that you got so freely. And so not only will it be not the people that you would hang out in your social circle right now, but also the people that you would hang out with in your social circle. You will care about both of them. It won't be something where, because, you know, I guess for me, when I was hanging out in that social circle, uh, sometimes they were the bad guy. Sometimes I was the bad guy. And so for me now, I'm not the bad guy. I just care about that person, and I want them to not have to be stuck in that situation any longer. And so I truly do care for them, and I care for them because of the love that Christ has put in my heart for those people. And so that's definitely a benefit. not only but also the people that maybe I've never experienced the kind of circumstances that they were in, but I even care for those people. And I definitely, when I was living my darker life, did not care for those people. I only seen those people as a come up. So that is definitely a benefit. The way that you view life in general will change because your life will change. The reasons that I would say this seems like a cost is because usually, even in the most miserable situation, we get comfortable. So you may be living in the roughest circumstances right now, but because this is normal and change is often uncomfortable, you might rather keep it just the way it is, even though in hindsight, you might be like, oh man, I can't believe that I was living life like that. And I will definitely say that there is so much truth to that. That was one of the hardest things for me to do was to make that change because that change was comfortable and stepping out of that lifestyle, even though it was miserable, even though I didn't want to be there, even though I wanted to change more than anything, it was hard for me to let go of that lifestyle because that lifestyle was comfortable. It wasn't comfortable like comfort. It was comfortable like I was used to it. And so changing that, changing into something else where I'm not doing that didn't seem right. And I always use the analogy of it felt as comfortable as putting somebody else's underwear on. Because to me, putting somebody else's underwear on seems super uncomfortable. Uh, and something about that just does not seem right. And so my point is that it's about that comfortable to me to make that change even though I was in misery. I was used to that misery, and so making that change just it didn't seem right. But and it won't be easy, like I said before, some of the things that you have to go through and some of the changes that you have to make in order to bring yourself to a better you, they're not easy. Those things aren't easy. Sorry. Those things aren't easy, but they're necessary. In order for you to have a better life, those changes are necessary. And even though it's uncomfortable, Jesus will give you the ability to be able to do it and put people in your life that will help you through that uncomfort. And so there is that. Um, yeah, that's, I guess, just making that change in itself at the time, I can think of how hard that really was. And it was horribly hard. But when I look back on it now, it was the best decision that I made. Yeah, I mean, my life with Christ is the best decision I made, but making those changes and going through the hard times, it was, well, I guess it wasn't the best, but it was one of the best decisions I made. And I was just talking to somebody, one of my really good friends. We're super good friends. I love her to death, but um, she still lives in the same neighborhoods. She's still doing the same things, and and I love her. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I stop and I see her every once in a while, but I cannot. And this is what I told her. I said, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to come over there and see you, or that I haven't been over there in a while, because it's been a while. But I just told her I just because I don't want to go into those areas and have it's not a healthy place for me to be. And so I had to do what's best for me. And she was like, I completely understand. But it's true. It's what I had to do. I had to do what was best for me. And it wasn't easy, but it was absolutely necessary. Also, you will find, having a relationship with Jesus Christ, you will find new purpose in life, something that is actually beneficial to those around you. And what I could say is that you might be like, I have a life that's beneficial to those around me. I know from a different point of view, when I was out and about running and gunning and doing my thing, um, I thought that I had a life that was beneficial to those around me. I mean, I helped a lot of people out you know, in certain ways, and I thought that I was a good guy. But really, I was not helping people out. I was a bad influence. Um, I could show you how to ruin your life a lot faster, usually, than you had figured out how to ruin your life. Um, I could show you how to do things that were going to really mess up your health and your family life, you know? And so, um, definitely in that lifestyle, you're obviously not beneficial to people. But even if you're not doing all of that and you're just living a normal life, um, maybe you go over and you hang out with your neighbor and you drink beer or whatever. And what I could say about that is that it might seem harmless, but looking back on it later, you might you might recognize that, that wasn't good for it probably wasn't the best thing that we could have been doing on a daily basis. Um, or maybe you help people, maybe you do a lot of good. Maybe you do tons of good for the people that are around you, and that's good. It is good. Uh, but who knows? Maybe if you had a relationship with Christ, if you don't have a relationship with Christ and you're doing tons of good for the people in your community, but maybe if you had a relationship with Christ, you would be doing even more or doing even better for the people in your community. And so I got a couple of scriptures that I can read on kind of um, on being more beneficial to those around you. And this is just something that I was kind of thinking about when I was reading over these notes. So Matthew 12:36, 36 and 37 says, but I tell you, and this is Jesus speaking, but I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every empty word that they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. So, what I would say is that if, if at some point in time, well, let me read this one first, and then we'll talk about both of them together. Um, 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due us for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad. What does it mean by in the body? In this body. That's what it's talking about. The things that we did when we were in this body, because at some point in time, we are going to pass from this body, and our soul is going to go into the spiritual life, the spiritual realm. And at that moment, we are going to be judged before the judgment seat of Christ for the things that we have done on this earth and the things that we have said while on this earth. So, um, if we have a jump start and can start telling people about a life with Christ, that I mean, to me, that is more important than anything, because if I can tell you about a life with Christ and all of a sudden you decide, you know what, I do want to have a relationship with Christ, you receive him in to your heart, you start to follow after him, you start to make those changes, and you go from, um, you know, I don't know where your life is, but I know where my life was, and I was in full destruction mode. And so if you were like me and you go from full destruction mode over to a life, even if it's just a life where you are just living a better life, and you're good to your kids and you're good to the people around you and all of that, and all of a sudden, uh, in those ways you're beneficial. That right there, uh, just the words that I shared with you to get you to that point, if I was the one that helped you to get to that point or to make that decision, I would much rather be speaking those words than speaking some words bringing you down or helping you into destruction, like the life that I used to live. And so if you're living that life and you have the opportunity to have a relationship with Christ where all of a sudden your thoughts change, your motives change, the things that you want to do change, all of these things change, and all of a sudden you start helping others to restore their life through Christ, then imagine the reward that you will get at the end. Okay, so this brings me right into the the next thing on my notes, and I'm gonna have to read this word for word because there's no way that I'm gonna remember to say this otherwise. So, all right, so I'm just gonna give you a scenario. Imagine for a moment that you had the cure to a horrible disease that slowly but surely withered people away until their demise. And you had a cure that would bring them from the sad, unhealthy state they were in and would give them health and life. You would want to share this with everyone. And I think about, not only would you want to share this with the people that you love, but you would want to share this with other people, just people that you've seen that were getting eaten away by this horrible disease. How do I know? Because I was the one in the horrible, miserable state, suffering from this horrible disease. Then somebody shared the cure with me, and the cure was and is Jesus Christ. And suddenly, this dried up, withered, dang near hopeless shadow of a man started to show signs of improvement. I started to have a little health and a little life in me. Now I have years behind me since I chose to receive this cure, and I'm healthy and I'm full of life and full of love, full of eagerness to show others that there is hope and share this opportunity with people. We suddenly have the opportunity to live life twice, our best life. That may not look like riches, lavish homes, and fast cars down here. Uh, I was like, I can just think my last time on my way, um, right before my sentencing, I remember somebody saying, "Man, when you came in, they were in jail with me. They said when you came in, you literally look like death." They said you were like, probably 40 pounds lighter than you are right now, and all of that. And you literally look like death. And he said, "I remember you from a couple of years ago." And then when I seen you, I was like, "Oh my gosh." Well, that's because I was literally withering away to nothing. And and I had an incurable disease. There is only one cure for that disease, and that is Jesus Christ, in my opinion. There's other people that might argue, uh, whether or not that's true. But you know what? I tried other things and I could never get past um or never be able to get onto a path where I was, restoring my life. I was, in my opinion, truly hopeless. And when I finally made the choice to have a relationship with Christ, everything changed. And all of a sudden, the the hopelessness, the misery, and just the fact that I was, you know, eating myself away with substances that were killing me. I couldn't do anything about it. And all of a sudden, Christ came in, changed everything. So, like I said, if you were in that situation and now all of a sudden you're living, you decide to have a relationship with life, with Christ, and you start being restored back to life, you you have the opportunity to live life twice uh, while here on earth. You have a second chance at life. And not only is it a second chance at life, but it's your best life. And why I say it might not look like riches, lavish homes, or fast cars is because none of that stuff really matters. Those are the things that keep us from focusing on what really matters. When we're focused on the riches, the homes, and the cars, we it takes our focus away from the things that are really important in life. And the things that are really important in life are being valuable to those that are around us, being valuable to our family, to our loved ones, to the people that care about us, being there for people when they need us, and and above all, watching people go from that horrible state into a state where all of a sudden their life has been restored and all of a sudden they start to have families and good things in life and they have a smile and their face is full again and they're back to health again. Those things are worth everything in the world. Just watching that person, loving that person when they first come to you and they're still a mess, and then watching that person transform through Jesus Christ into a completely different life. It's one of the greatest things that you can ever experience. Okay, so what do I know? So what I said was that may not look like riches, lavish homes, and fast cars down here. But what do I know that that looks like? I will tell you what um, getting the cure of Jesus Christ for the horrible disease that was taking my life. I will tell you what that looks like to me. It looks like comfort and it looks like peace. Now, for some, that might not seem like that great of a thing, but I will tell you something. For me, I didn't have any peace. I never had peace. I remember my cousin asking me, she's like, dude, you look horrible right now. And I'm like, yeah, because I've been up for like 4 days straight, just going from place to place. And she's like, well, why didn't you go to sleep? And I'm like, because I can't trust nobody. I can't go to sleep nowhere because I can't trust anybody isn't gonna, you know what I mean? Like you go to sleep when you're vulnerable. And if you're hanging around a bunch of people that would get you when you were vulnerable, well, then that's not what I was going to do. Instead, I was going to stay up until I finally got to somewhere where I did trust the people around me. Uh, just that amount of discontent is something that I think about. And uh, but in reality, I mean, I couldn't even trust myself. How can I trust somebody else? I couldn't even trust myself. I was killing myself. How can I even trust anybody else if I can't trust myself? So when I finally got what Jesus had to offer, I had comfort and I had peace. And that peace was worth everything in the world. That peace There's no amount of money that that could buy the kind of peace that God gives. And I would trade anything for it. I would trade anything for it. And I would to get it. I would trade anything to get it, and I would never ever trade anything to lose it or to lose him. And so I think that's where I'm going to end it today. And again, I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time. Because I would hate to have any of these messages just in case you didn't tune into the last one and you are just tuning into this one. I would hate to during this message because I don't think I'll do this in some of my other messages once this one's done. But this message is what was important to God. This is the one that he said I had to present first. And so during this message, there's not going to be a time where I'm not going to offer the opportunity for you to have a relationship with Christ. And that comes through a prayer. And so this is the sinner's prayer. I invite you, if you heard what I had to say today and you say, hey, I want to have that. I want to have that comfort and that peace, or I want to finally be cured from the horrible disease that's killing me. Whatever the case, if you want that, then I invite you to say this prayer with me. I will pause after every line and give you the opportunity to repeat after me and say this prayer with me and enter into this family and enter into a relationship with the one and only answer, the answer that will truly change your life and turn you into somebody you never even thought was even possible. So, dear Lord Jesus, I recognize that I am a sinner, and I ask for your forgiveness. I believe that you are the Son of God. I believe that you died for my sins. I believe that you rose from the dead and that you are alive today. I am turning from my sinful life and I turn to you. I ask you to come into my heart and into my life. I want to follow you and trust you all the days of my life as my Lord and as my Savior. I thank you for giving me the opportunity of true freedom. I pray this in sincerity, in the name of Jesus, in your mighty and holy name. Amen. If you said that prayer with me, I welcome you into the family. I congratulate you. Um, give it everything. Give it 100%. And don't don't give up too soon. Give Jesus the opportunity to make the change because there will come a point where you will look back and you will be like, thank God I didn't give up in the very beginning when it was uncomfortable. Thank God that I kept moving forward with him because I would never trade this for the world. So thank you for tuning in on this. There will be one more message and then we will be done with that. And then I can start on some of the other messages, but this is the one that's most important to him. And so I am going to be obedient. Um, yep. Tune in next time. We'll have one more and then we will go forward. All right. Have a good night.